Nick. Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for coming to annual PTSA Candidates Night for 2023. My name is Melissa Zeitz. I am the Williamsville PTSA co-president, along with Sarah Smith-Ronan. We have 14 candidates, as you may know, for the school board, for the Williamsville School Board for the 2023-2024 school year. There are 11 in attendance. Unfortunately, 3 of our candidates weren't unable to make it. We are looking to vote in 4 candidates. 3 of the candidates will hold a term of 3 years. 1 candidate will hold a term of 2 years. The budget vote is set for Tuesday, May 16th at Williamsville North High School. It'll begin at 7 a.m. and it'll continue till 9 p.m. I would just like to thank Lynn Carey and Nick Filipowski for setting up the candidates night and getting this all organized. Thank you both. And tonight we actually have the president, Lori Robinson. She's here from the League of Women Voters in the Buffalo Niagara chapter. So she's going to be our moderator tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. As you just said, I'm Lori Robinson from the League of Women Voters of Buffalo Niagara, and I'm very delighted to be here this year. The League is a nonpartisan organization that encourages informed and active participation of citizens in government. The League works to influence public policy through education and advocacy. Moderating school board candidate meetings is only one of our many functions. Membership is open to everyone, and you can learn more on our website at lwvbn.org. And I also have some material in the back of the room. Please feel free to take whatever you like. So, ground rules for candidate forms. The League of Women Voters of Buffalo Niagara will not permit substitute candidates at debates and forums conducted by the League. A candidate must be present at a forum conducted by the League to present his or her statement and to distribute campaign literature if necessary. A candidate cannot attend the debate or forum. If the candidate cannot attend, she may submit a brief statement that explains their absence, and I will read those in a minute. Presentations should be strictly confined to issues, not personalities. The order of the opening statements has been determined by the order in which the candidate's name appears on the current election ballot. And this event was scheduled to be over by 9, but it might be a little bit later tonight. The Williamsville schools will make the only authorized recording of this event, and only licensed media, including TV, radio, and newspapers, are entitled to air a portion of the recording. In keeping with the Federal Communications Commission's regulations, all others who air this recording may do so only in its entirety. No one is permitted to publicly display edited footage in any manner. We request that the audience members turn off their cell phones at this time and keep them turned off throughout the event. We also request that you refrain from applause until the forum is completed. We seek to provide all candidates with the greatest amount of time to respond to the audience questions. So for tonight's format, Ms. Singh is our timekeeper. She will raise the yellow paddle when the speaker has 30 seconds left and a red stop panel when time has expired. The candidates are expected to stop when completing the sentence being spoken at that time. Opening statements. Each candidate shall have 2 minutes for an opening statement. Biographical sketches and a platform outline are usually presented. And then audience question. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to each question. I will be asking written questions submitted by members of the live audience, alternating with pre-submitted questions from the PTSA Council. Melissa has collected and will screen questions for vulgarity, profanity, appropriateness, and redundancy. The questions must be directed to all candidates. Questions will be asked of candidates in a rotating order. For closing statements, each candidate shall be allowed 3 minutes for a closing statement to summarize thoughts or reiterate points brought forth during the meeting. This forum is designed to be a dialogue between the audience and candidates. It is not a debate. Candidate Mark Manna was unable to attend this evening because he is at a pension trustee education conference. Candidate Melissa Rowland is also unavailable to attend this meeting. And candidate Philip Danielson is also unable to attend. This was his statement. His brother-in-law died suddenly on April 27th, and Phil is in Ontario for a visitation this evening and tomorrow. So those candidates did express the fact that they were going to miss, sadly, that they were going to miss the form. So I will announce each candidate only for their opening statements. I will be happy to repeat any questions if you need me to do that when it's your time to respond. With so many candidates, it's important that each one uses only as much time as needed to respond to the question, and we can move to the next person without any introduction. The next candidate to your left will be the one that will answer the next question. I will introduce the candidates in reverse order for your concluding statements. So now we will begin with opening statements with Dr. Hamed.
Hi, can you hear me okay? All right. Greetings, everyone. My name is Saqib Ahmed, and I have ballot number 1A. I'm a professor at Buffalo State University. I do computational nanophysics for a living, and by the core nature of this expertise, have the privilege of doing research and with leading scientists globally in a slew of topics from clean energy to semiconductor research to quantum computing. Me and my family moved here to the Williamsville School District in 2018. We have 2 children, a son who goes to Transit Middles in 6th grade, and a daughter who goes to Country Parkway in 3rd grade. My wife additionally works at Transit Middle. I do not exaggerate this when I say that our experiences at the school district have been truly outstanding. The teachers, the staff, the principals are exemplary, and this school district definitely lives up to its reputation. We feel blessed and privileged to be a part of it, and it's a further privilege for me to run for the Board of Education. Apart from being a faculty at Buffalo State, I'm also the founder and director of an integrated center on campus. This center was approved by SUNY and supported and funded by the Department of Energy. I lead a diverse group of scientists, engineers, AI specialists, and professionals in the social sciences, humanities, law, and ethics departments. I am a visiting faculty at the Department of Energy. I also serve at the National Science Foundation panels as well. I say all of the above to give you some context of my background and to highlight my success and engagements beyond Buffalo State, both at the SUNY as well as the federal levels. While I will provide my thoughts for the questions to come, I want the audience to be cognizant that as part and parcel of being a scientist, an educator, and a leader, I like to move forward with strategy and vision. I'm a firm believer of collaboration and of not reinventing the wheel. Even Einstein said that the only reason we can look so far ahead is because Newton, we stand on your shoulders. I believe that with great challenges, specifically with what COVID sent our way 3 years ago, come great opportunities. Thank you for listening.
Okay. And Mr. Biscaglia?
Hello, my name is Michael Biscaglia, and I am on ballot 2A. I have married with 3 children, 2 of which attend school district here in Williamsville at Maple West and soon to be Mill Middle. And I have a 2-year-old son at home who keeps me up at night. I've been a lifelong resident of Williamsville. I am currently a teacher for over 16 years while coaching and being involved in different activities in that school district. I've served over 10 years as the 7th grade team leader and union executive board member as a head building rep. During my time on the board, I continue to truly put students first and make sure their educational needs are met. I value the teachers and administrators in our district, and I strive to make decisions based on their best interests and the family's best interests, instead of making decisions based on agendas. I'm seeking re-election because I believe that I'm one of the best candidates to continue to help Williamsville school districts move forward in a positive and effective direction. I will continue to strive to enhance relationships and communication within our community and within our district, as I have tried to over the last 3 years. I want to continue to support policies that will provide the greatest environment for learning and teaching for our teachers and students. I desire to hold true to my values of creating a unified school district and learning environment that fosters to all students and their needs. This includes making sure all buildings and classes and curriculum are equitable and inclusive for all students. I want to continue to help the district strive to have equal opportunities in every district for every school and every student. I hope if I am reelected that I can continue to work to oversee this development and include a stronger education department as we so desired and need. Finally, I believe as board members, we should always be aware of our parents' beliefs and values in fostering the best learning environment for our students, our family, which ultimately outreach to our community. Thank you for your time tonight.
Mr. Osana.
Hi, my name is Indelo Soon, and I'm candidate 3A. I'm an attorney at Goldberg Segala in downtown Buffalo. I defend several municipalities in upstate New York, both in personal injury claims as well as civil rights violations. Prior to being an attorney, I was a substitute teacher for a school district, assisting teachers and students in grades kindergarten through 12. I was also a coordinator in a federally funded program called Safe Schools, Healthy Students. In that role, I was tasked with assisting underprivileged students in grades 3 through 5 in an after-school setting. This program was implemented by the Department of Education in response to rising concerns about youth violence, substance abuse, and school safety. I'm a father of 2 children in the school district. My son is a second grader at Forest, and my daughter is in kindergarten at Summit Academy. I'm a member of the Nutrition and Fitness Committee here in the Williamsville School District, as well as the fundraising committee at Summit Academy. In addition, I'm a volunteer coach for both the Independent Health YMCA and the Central Amherst Little League. I believe that Williamsville School District is a great district, and if appointed to the board, my hope is to expand on all the great initiatives and programs offered to the teachers, students, and parents within the district. My main focus would be to help improve the special education system within this district. As a father of 2 children with IEPs and 1 child with autism, I understand firsthand the issues that parents with special needs face when seeking services and programs for their kids, including all the red tape that they have to cut through to accomplish this tough task. My goal would be to help eliminate some of those burdens for those parents the burdens that those parents face when advocating for their children, and to help promote inclusion of children with special needs within the school district. This may seem like a narrow issue, but in reality, it is a broad problem that not only impacts children with special needs, but also our neurotypical students as well. By teaching our children about the different disabilities and promoting inclusion, our neurotypical students will be better equipped to accept those individuals in their adult life. Thank you very much.
Mr. Rich.
Thank you. My name is Jonathan Rich. I am a father of 2, one a student at UB and one at Williamsville North. In the last several years, I've been highly involved in the district. I served on the Mission and Belief Statement Committee, the District Communications Committee, and I've watched, attended, and spoken at many Board of Education meetings. In addition to being involved in Williamsville, I've worked with board members, teachers, administrators, parents, politicians, and residents across Western New York and New York State in advancing a more community-driven educational environment. I am passionate about and value greatly our public education system. In my professional life, I am the co-founder and chief technology officer of a company that serves not-for-profits across North America. We use storytelling to elevate historically and currently marginalized voices, and we raise awareness about social issues across the country. I'm also a soccer coach, a gardener, and an environmentalist. This year, I'm a school board candidate, and if you want to know why, you can just check the local news. There's a lot of things that are going on in our district that are troubling. There's a lot of struggles that have been going on, and we need to do better. We should be the best district in Western New York, and we should present ourselves and hold ourselves to a higher standard. As a board member, I'm going to be engaged. I'm going to ask questions that aren't being asked now. I'm going to ask questions when one of our schools is in the news twice in 10 days because of serious issues. I'm going to speak up when we get 50 teachers in a room because there are serious problems at one of our buildings. I'm going to hold the district accountable when they tell parents of special needs students that there's no money for their kids to get what they need because they spent the money elsewhere. I'm not going to sit on my hands. If elected, I will work hard for the next 3 years to fulfill the promise of Williamsville schools and ensure that every student has what they need. Thank you very much.
Hey, Crystal. Ms. Casmaret Bogner.
Bogner, but you almost got it. Thank you. Good evening, and thank you to the League of Women Voters and PTS Council for hosting this event. My name is Crystal Kasmarek Bogner. I'm running for re-election to continue my success in promoting educational excellence and enabling all students to thrive by supporting implementation of our district's strategic plan and initiatives that address academic, social, emotional, mental, and physical health needs. Additionally, I hope to remain active in our systemic review and revision of board policies to further promote diversity, equity, and inclusion. As a board member, I have a demonstrated record of fulfilling my responsibilities, actively researching topics, talking with community members, thoughtfully reflecting on feedback, and participating in educational events to make the best student-centered decisions, build a welcoming community, and facilitate continual improvement for our students and our district. I am the proud parent of a South 9th grader and a 22 South graduate. In 2014, we moved here from a neighboring district to benefit from Williamsville's robust educational opportunities. Since then, I have fostered advocacy for all students, previously as a special education PTSA leader on the district's strategic planning team, curriculum council, and shared decision-making team, and currently as a member of our policy committee, communications committee, and our school board. As our entire school community certainly benefits from my experience, dedication, and service, I hope to further gain your confidence tonight and your vote on May 16th. Thank you.
Ms. Williams?
Hi, everybody. My name is Brianne Williams, and I'm candidate 9A on the ballot. I am an Associate Director of Advancement for the College of Arts and Sciences at UB currently, and I'm running for a seat on the Williamsville Board of Education because I feel strongly about the benefits of a public education. I would like to build positive relationships throughout the community, and I want to make sure that students and teachers feel supported, trusted, and valued. This happens through providing resources that reinforce achievement, enrichment, growth, and success. I have a background in teaching, and I come with prior knowledge of how much expertise and heart teachers bring to their classrooms. Additionally, I have experience as a project manager as well as a major gift officer in higher education. I have served in several leadership roles where I have led with trust, empathy, and compassion, all while being able to have difficult conversations in respectful and constructive ways. Finally, I'm a mom. I save this for last because it's my most important job and where I've learned the most. I have guided my own two children, a sophomore at Williamsville East and a recent graduate from Williamsville East who is studying education at SUNY Fredonia. I've been a cheerleader for their successes and a shoulder to cry on through their struggles. I'm strong. I believe in our children and our teachers, and I know how to communicate in ways to bring people together regardless of our differences.
Ms. Spicer?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you again to the League of Women Voters and the PTSA Council for hosting tonight. Thank you all for being here. My name is Carrie Spicer. I'm the Assistant Vice President for Student Affairs and Dean of Students at Damon University, and I've worked in higher education for over 20 years at 3 regional institutions. Currently at Damon, I'm the co-chair of the Campus Care Team, which is an intervention team for high-risk students. I spend my days providing students support as they navigate their educational experience. This role has always been extremely complicated, but even more so as we navigate the ripple effects of the pandemic, the current mental health crisis, academic gaps, the increase in demand for support services for students with special needs, food and housing insecurity, just to name a few. I am the second in command on the university's emergency response team, and I have responded to crises such as the COVID-19 pandemic and reopening Damon, as well as the most recent blizzard in Buffalo. This does not mean sitting around a table. This means I am trained and I've been in the trenches in emergency situations with a level head and a strategic mind. Most importantly, I am the proud parent of 2 children in the Williamsville School District, a 4th grader at Maple West and an 8th grader at Mill Middle, meaning next year we will be at Mill Middle and Williamsville South High School. I'm a volunteer with the Girl Scouts. Thus, I'm the special education representative for the Mill Middle PTSA and the recording secretary for the special education PTSA. My journey through involvement and advocacy increased as our journey through special education unfolded, and especially during the pandemic. At each level of school and involvement I have been honored, humbled, and grateful for the teachers, aides, mental health experts, and parents that I have met and been supported by. Williamsville has so many hidden gems, programmatically, student-wise, and of course, the community itself. I want to give back to that experience, and I will do so by focusing on communication, inclusion, and excellence. Thank you.
Dr. McClary.
Hello, my name is Susan McClary. I am 11A on the ballot. I also would like to thank the League of Women Voters and the PTSA Council for running this event this evening. I kind of am going to shorten a few of the things that I had planned on saying, because I think, as you will see in this evening, as we move along, you will hear excellent comments from everybody. And so it's, I think, important to try and say something different rather than repeating the same kinds of things, not to negate anything that's been said so far. So I guess one word that I would use to describe myself would be experience. I have had a lot of experience in terms of working in the education field, in being a member of a number of volunteer boards in the Western New York area, and have done other activities in terms of working in community events that occur regularly. And I think, again, the biggest piece that is important for us in making our decisions for our school board is for you as a voter to choose the individuals that you feel will best help to move our board forward. My platform is collaboration, honesty, results, and providing positive experiences for students and families. Thank you.
And Ms. Bertrand Henrietta.
Hello. Hello, my name's Kaylee Bertrand Henrietta, and I'm candidate 12A on the ballot. So a little bit about myself. I am a parent of a daughter. She's right there, Minnie. She's a 2nd grader at Country Parkway. She's going to be a 5th generation graduate of the district. I graduated from South in 2012. My sister is also in the audience. She graduated from South in 2021. My brother is graduating this year. My aunt, also in the audience, graduated from South. I have a lot of support, so thank you guys. Thank you, PTSA Council and League of Women Voters as well for having me here today. So besides that, I'm a current UB student. I'm a social work full-time, going for my master's. While on campus there, I am involved as a student ambassador for next year, honestly. But the semester is ending this week, so it's okay. I have served on the Field Advisory Community Board as well this past year. And my field placement has been with a New York State Assembly member, which has given me a really unique perspective of seeing how policy interacts with social work and how funding can interact with social work and how all of that can be made more equitable. So my experiences this past year have led me to want to run, and I'm running on a platform of mental health, equity, inclusion, and I believe in the principles of trauma-informed care, safety, collaboration, trustworthiness, empowerment, and choice. I would like to help with the Green Ribbon Schools designation. I believe that there's a lot that could be done there in that space. Honestly, so much. I have a lot of ideas. I'm really excited. I'm young. I'm passionate. I want to be here. I want to be active. So thank you.
Mr. Heflin.
Hello. Again, thank you for hosting. And most importantly, I just want to say thank you to the audience for showing up. I believe that time is something that we do not get back. So for those of you who have come out tonight, I appreciate you. And a little bit about myself, I am new to it. I'm new to the board and new to trying to run. I've been in the Williamsville School District for 3 years. I came to the Williamsville School District because I wanted to see change. I'll tell you, I'm a product of the Buffalo City Schools. I have 34 years of higher education administration experience. I am the Assistant Dean for Inclusion and Equity at Buffalo State. I served as the Director of Equity and Diversity at Buffalo State, as well as the Director of Residence Life, the Director of Residence Life and Housing, the Associate Director of Residence Life. I've also had some experience working in athletics, where I served as Assistant Director for men's football for UB, as well as the Assistant Director for men's basketball at the University of Maryland. But one of the things I'll say, why am I running? What is the reason? I believe that we need to have individuals at the table. You know, Williamsville District is growing. I believe it's important that we start to look at it from a holistic perspective. My 3 points are excellence. I moved into this district because I thought that Williamsville had an excellent school district. I believe that is very distinct and integrity. So I would say that if you decide to vote, 13A is my number. But more importantly, I want to be the voice of individuals that you don't typically hear. Thank you.
Mr. Miller.
Thank you. My name is Jason Miller. I wanted to echo Mr. Heflin's comments to thank you all for your commitment here tonight, whether you're joining us in person or online. I know that there are many people who are watching this online as well. I am married and I have a son who is in 4th grade in Dodge Elementary. We moved in about 2016, I think it was, because of the school district. I currently work at Bank of America in small business regulatory compliance. I'm also an Episcopal priest part-time in the city of Buffalo. I previously served as a high school teacher when I lived in Ohio, so there's a background of education in me. I wanted to go back to something that the board published recently, which was their statement of beliefs that says it's essential to create a welcome environment that prioritizes safety, wellness, and belonging as a precursor to educational excellence. When we send our children to school, we entrust them into the care of the teachers who know them best, we think, because they're with them so many hours a day, especially at the elementary level. And we need to empower our teachers within the district with the ability to decide what's best for our kids. Our policies across the district need to support our teachers and staff and empower them to make decisions based upon the student population that they serve, while respecting parent choices for their children. I believe that my curricular experiences in education, my visioning and planning experience as a priest in the nonprofit sector will be an asset to the board. It's truly through partnership with the students, teachers, and the community that we can co-create a vision of our district that respects the dignity of all and celebrates our differences while unifying behind a common goal to have all succeed. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, all right, so we're going to move on to our questions. Just a quick housekeeping note. Do we have to be done by 9 or can we go a little later because of the
Wait, we can do something. 9:30.
9:30? Okay. All right, so the first question, and we're going to go in order, and then each question, as we can get in, we'll start with the next person. We're going to start with Dr. Ahmed. The first question is, what do you see as the top issue in the district, and what are your plans to improve this issue?
Thank you very much. It's 2 minutes, I guess. Is that?
Yes.
So I did some research and it's beyond obviously this school district, but just looking at think tanks and critical analysis. So just like I teach a course, I'll just first and foremost emphasize on the resources. So Forbes, Christensen Institute, Hanover Research. For the 3 years past COVID, there's now hundreds of school districts, close to 1,000, that have come up with solutions. And so again, going back to what I was saying regarding not reinventing the wheel, I guess, what I want to emphasize on is that there are tremendous avenues and opportunities to collaborate and find similar solutions. So there have been discussions, and I want to touch on it. There have been discussions on inequities of advanced placement, discussions on increased social, emotional, mental health needs, on the special education, on teachers leaving the field due to high stress, on various other issues, building size inequities. For all of them, it seems that there are, these have been kind of seen and worked upon by all these other, by a slew of institutions across the country. As time has progressed, there are a few solution pathways that have evolved. For example, webs of support. So where folks are now talking about utilizing competency-based education, utilizing webs of support in terms of mentors, coaches, volunteers, and support staff, multiple people involved in classroom settings. While this evolution is important, we need to be mindful of the fact that they need to be incremental, thoughtful, because teachers, staff, principals are exhausted. How do you proceed? There has to be a close pulse with students, parents, teachers, survey questions that are asked. It has to be very good data-driven decisions. I guess my time's up. All right.
Time's up.
All right.
Mr. Biscaglia.
One of the top issues in the district that I look at is kind of twofold, or I look at it as one in the same, is the implementation of the DEI plan or procedures going forward, which include, the way I look at it, trying to rebrand our special education department, which includes mental health. It's difficult to implement a plan if there isn't buy-in from the community, the teachers, and the students. We need to continue to strive to look at that plan and make sure that every student, as I said in my opening statements, has an equitable education. That includes our AP courses. That includes what's being offered at Williamsville East is similar and adequate for what's being offered at Williamsville South. I believe that we need programs that are equitable at our elementary levels. That includes looking at building sizes, where some districts are growing larger than others. We have to look at that. We have to, as a board together, collaborate and find common solutions that can help that, implementation of that DEI program, which really centers around equitable learning and inclusive learning. That includes finding different ways to implement the plan to include teachers and professional development to help them. Hearing today about, a behavior specialist, making sure that we reach out to the community and find different course of actions and find out what is the best plan for their children to support their children. Being a teacher, I'm in this every day. I see what's going on, and I come with different aspects, different ideas from different districts, and I hope to bring those here to help and collaborate with our other board members, our district administration, to continue to push Williamsville forward and improve on those areas. Thank you.
Next, go ahead. If anybody wants me to reread the question, I can. Go ahead.
So I think the main issue, or at least, my main issue is special education. We just finished a meeting about, an hour ago where several parents, voiced their concerns and their opinions with regards to how the school district is handling the special education system. I had to walk out because, I got a little bit emotional hearing it, and there definitely needs to be change at all levels. We need to do a better job at getting rid of the red tape. As I said earlier, for these parents, we got to get these children the special, services that they need, and we need inclusion. I think the big thing is inclusion. I have a young daughter, but eventually my young daughter is going to be in 7th grade, and I don't want to sit here and tell you guys the same stories 4 or 5 years from now. I want to be able to say, hey, look at all the improvements we've made in the special education system. I've had my own personal experiences. I think the special education committee is a bit underfunded. I mean, they're overworked. I mean, I've spoken to special education committee members, and their caseload is just too much. We need to put more resources towards the special education system here. I think that's my big issue. I mean, I'm going to work very hard to try to improve that, for the parents, that have the concerns. I want to be a voice on this board for those children with special needs, or those parents with children with special needs. Thank you.
Mr. Rich?
Thank you. I'm going to keep my answers short just because we don't have a lot of time here. But, for me, and I've said it over and over again, we need to be a little bit more sincere about our transparency. I think this kind of is an all-encompassing issue, and it's a holistic issue. But we need to, as a district, and this encompasses special education, it encompasses DEI, it encompasses mental health. We need to do better with accounting for transparency and being more responsive to the community, to teachers, to parents and students. For me as a board member, to facilitate that, one of the things that we can do is we can request more reporting from the district, request more reporting from the superintendent. In addition, we can get public reporting on things like FOIA requests. And when there are, census issues with regards to special education or other items, we can share that information with the community so there's knowledge about how much these issues are impacting students or how they're impacting the classroom environment. And so for myself, I think that, accounting for these issues and being aware of these issues at a really data-driven and meaningful level is an important part of making things better. Thank you very much.
Next.
Thank you. I also believe that ensuring equitable opportunities are available for all students is one of the biggest challenges for our district currently. We are in a good place right now where we have developed a diversity, equity, and inclusion plan, and it's a matter of how are we going to implement this plan. So we do have a district-wide DEI committee, and there are DEI committees in every building who will be looking at what can we do to improve equity in our district. So on those committees, there will be stakeholders, students, parents, teachers, administrators, and at the district level, board members who can all provide, I'm so sorry about this microphone, all provide input into what are these challenges that we have and how can we come up with good solutions. Some ideas that I have, speaking a little bit to the special education piece, we do have an audit that is taking place currently. We hope to have the results of that audit at the end of June. And I am looking forward to, if I am reelected, ensuring that we look at that carefully and implement any solutions that we can that have been suggested as a result of that audit. I would also like to create some mechanisms and resources that will assist families of students with special needs to better understand and have equitable access to the special education process. I want to strengthen our gifted programming services and continue to have better communication with families regarding our career and technical educational opportunities, because that is also an important part of equity, and having equitable, evidence-based homework guidelines. Thank you.
Ms. Miller or Williams? Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. I want to mirror what Endel said before. Listening to the parents that spoke tonight, it was heartbreaking, and I'm sorry, and it shouldn't be that difficult. We as a district and a community need to rally around the people that need our services the most and that need the resources the most. And, parents and families in the special education that work with the special education department need to feel supported, and they need to feel like they have an ally. A common thread that I have heard when I hear about the special education department is that there's a lot of people working against each other, and we need to be working together for the sake of our students, all of our students. And I think that starts with better training for our staff and professional development, and including a behavioral analysis. That's really what is needed. And I think that we need to work with stakeholders. We need to work together, think of creative solutions, and make sure that each child is heard. And I never want to hear anymore that a child feels like it's torture for them to be in school.
Okay, next.
Thank you. It's interesting to ask a question like, what's the biggest issue, right? So I'm a big systems thinker, and systems evolve and change constantly. And the needs of those who the systems are supposed to serve also evolve and change. In this snapshot of time, listening to families with stories similar to my own, I think about the issue of mental health, because that is my day-to-day, both professionally and personally. The mental health crisis, we talk about this in this general term, is very real, and it permeates the depth of everything that we're talking about in this panel tonight. So when we talk about mental health within the school district, we're talking about underdiagnosed and underserved students with special needs, or students we don't know if they have special needs or a neurodiversity because they're not being diagnosed properly. We also have families, and we heard them tonight, who are eagerly waiting for the special education audit results, who are curious to know how their voices will be represented in that audit and the expertise that they can offer. We also have teachers and staff. Friends, I work in education. It is an incredibly amazing and also at times abusive environment. And we need to take care of those who are taking care of our children. They're doing phenomenal work, but they need more support. And finally, because we have a lot of needs in a time of inflation and in a time of a lack of education staff, mental health professionals, etc., we need to think about this problem holistically. We need to think about having a family resource center where you have experts that are mental health experts, community resource experts, those who know how to triage issues and support families. There are other districts in this area that have this, and I think that we can do that and do it one better. So that's what I hope to do on the board. Thank you.
Dr. McClary.
I would say that our top issue in the district can be summed up with the word communication. We have, unfortunately, unhappy aspects of a child's program, experiences. We have programs that are being proposed that are not fully understood. We have the question of, is there equity amongst all of the buildings? And probably, again, the simple fact of people are not being heard. Parents are not being answered sometimes. Teachers are not always being informed. And so therefore, it comes down to communication. And I think some of the improvement is to have more actual, almost one-on-one conversations with people. You aren't able to understand what people need and experience and want if you don't talk about it. And so I would like to make sure, if I am reelected, that we have the ability to have more ordinary one-on-one conversations with individuals and with groups. We need, again, to continue and expand on our teachers' professional development. We have superb teachers in our district. I think COVID kind of lands on everybody in terms of things that they remember and would like to change. And so we need to help with teacher professional development, continuation and expansion on mental health services, and the many, many resources that the district does have, we need to use them.
Okay. Next. Go ahead. Need the question again?
Hi, thank you. So I think one of the biggest issues, to kind of go off of Dr. McClary, is communication. But I think that one of the things that go along with communication is the DEI plan, and realizing that it's not just a plan, it's a mindset, it's a cultural value that the district and the community and the residents need to have for the schools and our children to truly be successful. There, within the district, almost a quarter of the children who live just within the district borders are receiving some sort of inclusive service, whether that is English as a new language or special education or even early intervention in preschools. There's an additional 38% of high school students within the district who are participating in AP classes or CTE classes like Harkness and BOCES and management in the high schools. There's programs. So I think that there's a lot of inclusion that has been brought, but at the same time, a lot of the issues that have been brought up, they've been issues since I was a student 10 years ago, 10 plus years ago, going through even in middle school. There is a lack of communication between the board, between administration, between community, between students. I feel that students have a place in the conversation. I firmly believe that. And I think that we need to value the voices of the young people in our community to help us guide them where they're going to go, because they're the leaders. So I think that, you know, really with collaboration from everyone, we can work to improve the communication and improve the diversity, equity, and inclusion within the district. I don't think that it's going to be easy. I think that it's not also going to be overnight, but I for sure know that we could get it done way faster than in the past 10 years. There's been a lot of great things that I've seen between my siblings graduating and my time. And I love the direction that the district is going, but thank you.
Mr. Hepland.
Well, I would like to say that one of the top issues within the district, I think it's the top issue everywhere, is financial resources and how we distribute them. We talk about DEI, which, you know, I would say that I have a lot of experience in DEI, but it's applying the DEI, number one, and it's also ensuring that there's participation through all levels of it. I equate it to looking at, I mean, we talk about communication. I look at it like a football play. I'm looking at the shirt here that says choose love. I think we have to choose our battles. I think we have to choose, if we were a coach, there's so many people, everyone can't run the play. You have a quarterback, you have a running back. And I think there's oftentimes we have to call different plays for different things. I think when you look at financial resources, I think there's one thing that we have to always be conscious of, is safety. We look across the landscape of America, and every day, or I'm not gonna say every day, but I would say weekly, we're hearing of school shootings in the mall. I think we're in a district that is safe, but as we expand and grow, I think we need to pay attention to our students at a very young age. When we talk about mental health, it's not neglecting their opinions, thoughts, and valuing them. So I think what I would say is, you know, some of the strategies that I would have is put more boots on the ground. We have to be present. We have to be present in the community, present in the school, present at the sporting events, so that they understand that we are here for them to support them. Thank you.
And Mr. Miller.
So you talked about boots on the ground, and I kind of liken that to communication and transparency. And I think they continue to be challenges for us in our district, resulting in kind of a lack of trust in general. It's so much easier to lose trust than to gain it. And we've seen that trust lost over the past years. And like you said, I think it was you, It takes a long time to build stuff back. It doesn't happen overnight. So we can see the impacts that previous administrations had and continue to have as parents who are attacking the board for decisions that are made or things that they don't agree with because they aren't getting the communication that they covet. And I think the only way to solve it is to continue to be transparent, to continue to communicate, but not overly communicate. There's a fine line between over communicating and communicating what needs to be communicated. It doesn't mean sending messages out the wazoo about one project and kind of trying to slide other stuff that might just be as important under our radar. So we have to be communicating about everything equally, that it's an important thing for our stakeholders. Thank you.
Okay. All right. The second question, and we'll start with Mr. Biscaglia. The district is currently understaffed in many areas, including support staff, maintenance, secretaries, and custodians. How do you plan on addressing this problem?
Me the difficult question first. Unfortunately, this is a problem that's happening across New York State and across the country. Many people don't want to go into education, and unfortunately, that includes, the support staff. They're underpaid, they're underutilized, and that doesn't just happen here. It's in many districts. I think it starts on the ground level and working with families and students to show them the advantages it is to work in a school district, the advantages they can have working with children every day and seeing the joy on their faces, whether it be custodians or athletic directors or teaching assistants or teaching aides. They all get the joy of seeing students when they achieve things. And they also see the faces and expressions when there's defeat, and they're there to pick them up. The easiest answer is to continue as a board to oversee and look at contracts, and work with the unions and those unions and collective bargaining agreements to come up with the best financial situations and entice new candidates to come and work, especially for Williamsville. We should be at the forefront of that and enticing them with better health care, better pay, competitive pay, not just within, district to district, but unfortunately, you're seeing Target paying $20 an hour. We have to figure out somehow in our financial, budgeting how to implement better pay for our support staff, which in turn will entice them to come and work for us. And also that it goes back to the DEI implementation is getting diverse and workers to come here, because Williamsville is changing and we have to be recognized. We have to recognize that and look to change with them. Thank you.
Yeah, that is a tough question. And I think one thing that we need to do is appreciate the support staff that we have. I think that's the first step we can take to at least ensure that we retain what we have, showing acts of kindness and building positive relationships with this current support staff that we have is crucial, because unfortunately it is a problem that's not just in this district but many other districts, and it's a problem that's going to take time to resolve. Unfortunately, I mean, we're going to have to work on how we can improve the salary and benefits that our support staff has, and figure out the budget to make sure that we retain people and bring in new people and provide marketing, try ways to get people to come to our district and work together to fix this issue that's unfortunately a result of the pandemic. A lot of people are now doing remote work and a lot of people don't want to do school work, and we got to find ways to try to reverse that. And thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. As Mike and Endel have said, it's a really hard problem. Inflation has kind of hit a lot of aspects of the district. It's hit the district already. We've increased sub pay, I think, by $30 a day, but every other district increased sub pay by $30 a day. And we're going to increase sub pay again, probably, hopefully. And every other district's going to increase sub pay. We had a bus driver shortage last year, and the reason wasn't that we didn't have enough bus drivers. It was that you could make almost double the money delivering packages for Amazon as you could, delivering kids home or to school. The district, we were actually just talking in the hallway about how the district needs to hire more aides. But again, the pay for aides is low. The pay for specialists is low. We had a conversation last week about how, does the district have to use the state's guidelines for what the specialist pay is for special education, or can the district offer higher pay? But again, that goes back to that money's got to come from somewhere. It's a very difficult situation. I think that, the way that the financial markets are working, the way that different industries are seeing pay escalate much more than public sector worker jobs tend to escalate. It's going to potentially be an intractable problem, and that's a situation that might be a year or 2 or 3 away, and then you might have to, as Mike said, go back to collective bargaining and say, okay, maybe we can't offer the pay that we want to, but maybe there's other benefits that we can provide that are supplementary or offset the fact that the district can't offer what the private sector can do. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm going to try not to be so close. Can everyone still hear me? Okay. I do believe that we need to look at competitive pay. We want to offer fair and competitive pay for all of our employees, all of our support staff. However, most people who go into education, I don't think go into education for the pay. I know I have a mental health background. I did not go into mental health for the pay. I went into mental health because I wanted to help people. And I think that's often the case with folks that go into education too. So we need to highlight some of the benefits. What are the benefits of being in our school districts? Can we provide some flexible schedules or other kind of benefits that don't necessarily cost anything, but can be enticing to individuals that maybe have to be home when their kids get off the bus or want to be home when their kids go to school. So being creative and in marketing these positions, making sure that we are highlighting what the benefits are. And maybe even, I know we've had job fairs in the past, perhaps at our job fairs, we bring in student groups, show how exciting it is to be around these students and what amazing, talented students we have in this district. And wouldn't you like to come and join us and be a part of this educational journey for all? So thank you.
I'm going to echo a little bit what everybody has said. I apologize. But I think, Michael, you're right. I think Williamsville has the opportunity to be a leader in this space. Our support staff, we can appreciate them, but the reality is that I think that they do need to be compensated better, and that can look like their paycheck and their benefits. I think we forget often that our support staff they're certified teachers, so they have master's degrees and school loans that they're trying to pay off. I know my sister was in that position. She's a teacher in the district, and she was an aide for a long time because she really wanted to work in the Williamsville School District. And this was her, kind of that door that opened. And she worked 2 jobs during that time just to make ends meet for her family. So I think that the reality of it is that, our support staff, they do so much. Specifically, we don't have enough substitute teachers, and a lot of times those substitute teachers are very important when it comes to the DEI plan that we're trying to implement, because a lot of our teachers are going to need professional development, which means they're going to probably have that professional development during the school day. So we want to make sure that those classes are covered in a way that's comprehensive. So I want to appreciate our support staff by raising their pay and getting them better benefits.
So I say to my students often that we have to plan for the marathon and the sprint. So I really like that expression. They sometimes look at me like I'm crazy. But this is another one of those situations where we really have to be planning. We're in the middle of the sprint, right? We have this issue of being understaffed, of not having a pipeline in where we see these professionals coming into our schools. And also we have to plan for the long term of this ripple effect that I've talked about. Excuse me. A lot of my colleagues have made excellent points to both the marathon and the sprint. The things I thought of at the question is we need to start prioritizing our needs. As Crystal said, where can we be flexible? Education does tend to move at a bit of a glacial pace. So are we really considering what our needs are and what our systems look like? And are they still meeting the needs of our staff and our families? Also, looking at pooling resources. Again, I work on a college campus. Education is in the same kind of crisis at all levels. So looking at what resources we have and pooling those resources and expertise into a smaller space, or using folks kind of across the district to address the needs that we have. An example of that is at Maple West, when one of the professionals left suddenly. I know the teachers have been covering phys ed when they're a classroom teacher or a special ed teacher. That's happening across the board, and they're just jumping in. It's not the answer. I'm appreciative, but that's what they're doing. So let's do a more formal look at what our needs are. And in the marathon, as people have already said, we need to increase pay. We need to actively recruit, not throw up a job fair in a building and expect people to come to us. We need to go out into the community, and we need to find that talent and foster that talent. So actively recruiting based on pay, benefit, and the environment of the Williamsville schools. And finally, I'm going to recommend academic bridging. We need to bridge interest in our high school students to go into education. So how are we working with the regional institutions? We have over 10 of them to foster that interest.
Okay.
Thank you.
Dr. McCary.
I think what we need to do is to create an atmosphere in a building so that people want to work there. We need to foster positiveness, caring, interest, sharing, working with others. And all of those, not being flippant, all of those don't cost anything. You can be kind to people without having to expend any money. On the other side of it, of course, one of the things that I agree with is that we do need to increase salary and benefits, most especially for our support staff and others. Unfortunately, that means we also have to be mindful of what might have to be let go in order to make ourselves be fiscally responsible. Because yes, there are many things that we need to increase, such as salaries, but we have to find a way to pay for those. So I'm suggesting that we match up the things that we have that we can almost strengthen in terms of not spending any money for, but then also find creative ways to lessen a few items in the budget so that we have more money to do things like increase salaries.
Okay. Go ahead, next.
So I think everyone here so far has pretty much said, I think, enough about what I think we could do. Respectfully, I do need to disagree as far as what, sorry, Dr. McCleary and Crystal. I did not get into social work to be underpaid. I'm going back to school for my master's to be paid adequately, and I'm here to advocate for people to be paid adequately. So quickly, I just went and pulled up the current associate staff CBA. It ends in June of 2024. So who is elected to the board this election is going to be an advocate for this upcoming union contract. Real quick, page 4, there is so much in here. Like, I really wonder how many board members have, even in years past, historically read this contract and not have been angry. For 5 years of service to the district, you get an extra 50 cents an hour. I could not live off of that. I have looked into working at the district for an aide while I'm in school. I cannot afford to. I can't. Where is it down here? Page 6. If you assist your child, if you assist your student with toileting, diapering, physical hygiene, you get an extra $1 an hour. Is that not disrespectful? Like, do we not value our children more? Are they not worth more than that? I personally am willing to, I want a unified board who is as just mad about this as I am, and as mad as the parents are, and we deserve to do better for our students. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr.
I'm going to ask you to repeat the question, please.
Okay. The district is currently understaffed in many areas, including support staff, maintenance, secretaries, and custodians. How do you plan on addressing this issue?
Well, for me, I think, we want to be competitive. I think salary is important, but I also think personal choice is important as well. Some of these individuals have chosen. I wanted to. Kaylee brought a point in terms of the support she have. I think we can be creative in how we use our financial resources and resources in general. I think my thought is, and someone quoted me this, I would say 30 years ago. I won't say his name because he may be watching, but he said to me when I was a grad assistant at Buffalo State, he said, and I didn't make very much money. He said to me, experience is what you get when you don't get the money you want. And I believe that, the experience is important. I think creating sense of belonging, creating family values. I think the individuals that work in this environment, there's a benefit to working in Williamsville. Yes, we should be recruiting more of a diverse populated staff. How do we do that? And some of it is going into the community, casting a wider net to individuals that look at pay differently. We talk about a DEI plan to implement, and we know that will cost money as well. I think if we look at our parents, our students, Kaylee brought up that she had individuals that's been in this pipeline forever. And I think if we tap into some of those individuals that's been in this district, I think they can help us find solutions as well. Thank you.
Mr. Miller?
I'm going to echo everyone's comments that salary is a big part of how we recruit people. But the intangible benefits are just as important, as everyone else has mentioned. And sometimes thinking creatively about intangible benefits, including things like student loan payments that aren't taxable and maybe a better choice for some of the district's funds, could be attractive to people. So as part of the collective bargaining agreement renegotiation, I think that things like that need to come to the table, and they may not have been in the past. So new voices to the table will help to accomplish that as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, we've got another question.
I think
a little bit of time. Pardon?
I'm remaining.
Yes, he's going to.
Oh, I'm
I didn't
sorry.
answer.
I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
All right, thank you. And thank God, because the first time I went around, I was like, oh, wow, will I be going around the first time every time? But what a nice way to equitably distribute resources. So that's fantastic. So I'll break up the discussion into two parts. The first is, again, appealing, I think, to all these individuals, these phenomenal individuals, mentors, coaches, volunteers, support staff, custodians, everyone, appealing them to in an intellectual manner, in the sense of why they entered the field in the first place. And I think also putting an added twist to it, which is that putting it into context of the innovation that's needed now, something that I was unfortunately inarticulately trying to say the first time around, which is in terms of what's needed in with competency-based education, which is you have webs of support. So you have divide and conquer Napoleon strategy amongst all these individuals. So that's one thing, which is appealing to the intellectual manner, the intellectual merit of the whole process, but also secondly, with funding. just today, the SUNY Chancellor and Board of Trustees released their budget. There's close to 5 billion, and sometimes it's good to pause and think about what a billion is with respect to a million is 1,000 million. In research scholarship, diversity, equity, inclusion, as well as economic development and upward mobility. There is ample, sure, there are 62 SUNY campuses, but there's ample opportunity here in Buffalo. We have Buffalo State, we have UB, we have other SUNY institutions where folks can write a collaborative proposal to get a share of this money for situations like this. Secondly, I don't know if anyone's looking at NSF, but Discovery Research Pre-K-12 program, $4 million, $5 million every 3-4 years. Getting funded like this, and there in a cursory search, University of Rochester professor, she got a multi-million-dollar grant to develop all these initiatives. It does two things real quick. One is that it allows money in the meantime, but okay. But secondly, it allows for data collection. Thank you.
Everybody's answers. Thank you. I'm sorry, and I know we're short on time, I should say. So, Mr. Osan, you're next with the next question. The board is responsible for the district operating budget. As a candidate for the board, please describe your experience with crafting institutional budgets and financial oversight.
All righty. So in my capacity as an attorney, anytime we get a new case, one of the first things we have to do is evaluate the case and then prepare a budget. And depending on how complex the case is, we increase the budget in certain areas or decrease the budget in certain areas. So, I went to law school because I'm not the best with numbers, but I do have experience with budgeting. And, I know there's been issues about, this recent audit, and, I've reviewed, our response to the audit. And I think it was a very thorough, detailed explanation of why there was it was a detailed response to the audit. And, I grasped that and I understood that, COVID was a difficult time and, caused some restraints and caused some confusion and changed everything. It's still, we're still, recovering from that. But in terms of budgeting, I think it's smart to be conservative, make sure we're allocating the resources appropriately to the right programs. And that's my experience with budgeting. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I budget for my own department, which is 1/100th of the district budget. But the funny thing about budgeting is you open the spreadsheet and you lay out all your expenditures, you lay out what your target budget is, and there's never enough money to cover everything you want to spend money on. And I think someone said it earlier that you in a lot of ways where you spend money is how you express your value system. And we do need to spend more money on certain things as a district. And what we need to make sure that we do is align our spending with our priorities, right? And this is kind of a similar to the last question about budgeting and how we get more resources. And so the answer from my perspective is, we do have to be conscious of what the taxpayer expectation is. We have to be conscious of the economic realities, but the staff in the district and the utilities in the district and keeping the lights on, those are also suffering from the same economic realities. And so just as much as the taxpayers need to be able to afford their mortgages and the taxpayers need to be able to afford their groceries, the teachers need to be able to afford their mortgages and be able to afford their groceries. When times are good economically, that's a pretty easy thing to balance out. And when they're hard, it's very, very difficult. And so, from my perspective, when I do budgeting, it's usually about what doesn't go in. It's not about what you spend money on. It's the things you don't spend money on. And I think as a board member, I would probably have a very similar perspective of, not where are we spending money, but what are the things that we're not spending money on that could be value adds, could be things that, would be really valuable for the classroom. And then, of course, how do we make it through the tough economic times that are in front of us right now? Thank you.
Go ahead, Chris.
Thank you. So in terms of my experience with budgeting, my primary experience with budgeting is within my own family, my personal and family budgeting. I honestly, prior to being on the board, I was not involved in any sort of operating budget in any of my work. However, since I have been on the board, obviously we are responsible for the oversight of our budget. We have an amazing Assistant Superintendent of Finance and Mr. Tom Matursky. Any of you who saw our meeting earlier can see how knowledgeable he is. And so he does a lot of that sort of work for us, and we're providing the oversight. I also have been on the audit committee last year and this year, so I do have the ability to ask many questions in terms of what is happening with the district budget and the audit results and looking at those things. I do have a strong math background, so I do believe in terms of being able to understand the budget, I am able to understand what is going on and can ask those important questions that are related to the budget. It is difficult every year. Every year, it seems during the budget season, we're asking are we going to have to cut something this year? Luckily, with the increase in foundation aid, we had a very nice, stable budget going into this season where we did not have to cut and actually are able to supplement some things. So, but it's one of the difficult things that we do as board members, having to really manage that and understand what's going on and try to do, when everything we do, what is best for our students overall. Thank you.
Go ahead. Thank you. So I have a little bit of experience as a project manager at an architecture and engineering firm where I really had to use my subject matter experts when it came to developing a budget. And like Crystal said, Dr. Matursky's done a really fantastic job of explaining the budget and what that means. So, in my realm, I would probably, really lean on his expertise on this. But overall, you have to be mindful of the project that you're working on. And that would be the scope. What problem are you trying to solve? What problem are we trying to solve? And how much is it going to take to find a solution to that problem? And we have to be good fiduciaries to all of the stakeholders. We have to look at it also, as Crystal said, from the perspective of the student. And that should be our first priority, is the perspective of the student. When we do talk to stakeholders, we want to engage them early and be transparent. We need to have clear expectations and provide data and research to support whatever budget we lay out and how we want to see that completed. And use previous work as a guide. I know some of my colleagues here have mentioned, using our community partners. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are a lot of templates for this. And identify and manage the risks that are faced when we look at a budget and look at a project as a whole. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. So the luxury of being able to take notes while folks are talking, I was like, let me articulate this. So I have worked, as I mentioned, in higher education. So I have experience in departmental budget management and creation. I have worked in higher education most often when I've had to make budget cuts mid-semester, after a semester. And I've worked in higher education during times where my particular area was being scrutinized due to other things happening on the campus. So I once had to estimate the value of a volleyball soaked in mud and estimate the cost that it would be for each year. Yes, that is true. So I've had a lot of different unique budgetary experiences. I've also been a liaison to student governments as part of my career. Students pay a mandatory student activity fee and other students manage that money. So I've been a liaison to ensure that students are following policies and guidelines. My favorite expression is what's our policy and what's our practice. So consistency and policy guidelines are really important. Following experts like Tom and looking at what legal guidelines and expectations are when it comes to being a fiduciary agent is critically important. I have done that. I've learned from these experts. I have also worked on a campus during COVID. And if you came to the budget meeting earlier, as we talked about, most institutions froze their budget. It was the thing that we needed to do because we did not know when it would end and we didn't know what was going to happen next. So working within a budget freeze has been something I've had to do. And with that, you have to be creative, like turn the heat down in your buildings. And finally, I've been part of the CARES Act distribution to my students. I was on the committee for that. I read each and every single situation that students were navigating financially, and I used a rubric to disseminate that money to those students who were in the highest need. And every student that applied got something. Thank you.
Dr. Claire. Go ahead. The question is, what is your experience in financial oversight? So I was thinking back to various positions that I hold and have held. So currently I'm a member of the Amherst Youth Board, the Amherst Youth and Community Coalition Board, the AAUW Buffalo Executive Board. And when I was at Damon, I was responsible for one of the teacher ed programs. So every one of those positions required a budget, being responsible for parts of it, for having discussions, for figuring out how to use money appropriately and so forth. And then, of course, we lead into the biggest one of financial oversight is from my 6 years of experience in being on this school board. We certainly have learned tremendous amounts of things from Mr. Matursky, as you've heard from other people mention. And I feel that all of those experiences give me the background and ability to be fiscally responsible for our district.
Like a personal tidbit, I guess, I think it's kind of funny. I have been diagnosed when I was 26 with dyscalculia. So numbers and math come really hard to me, but I still really love them. And somehow I've found jobs that have helped me with the funding and budgeting. So when I was at Matt Urban, when I had first started, there was a HUD audit for 2019 and 2020 based on like 95% turnover rate before I was even there. And then right after I had started, my boss left. So I was suddenly responsible as the only employee for fixing an audit that I didn't know anything about. I had no part in, and being, it was interesting, but being able to turn that around. The Matt Urban Supportive Housing Program is the largest housing program for the chronically homeless in Western New York. It has a budget of over $1 million. Because of COVID, there was surplus in the budget and I was able to provide directive. But it wasn't just me that provided the directive. I went to the clients in the program and I said, hey, what do you guys need? What do you want? They wanted client programming. They wanted trips. They wanted fun things to do. So that's what we did. We also got them air conditioners because it was summer and it was really hot in their apartments. Besides that, at Matt Urban, there was a lot of just financial tracking and monitoring. A lot of it was housing, working with landlords, maintaining communications. Beyond that, currently I'm with Assemblymember Rivera. The state budget just passed earlier this week. I was literally just working on state Excel spreadsheets earlier today. And I'm going to be there this summer as the legislative fellow. So that is continuing. And yeah, I just love numbers, even though they're hard. So.
Awesome.
Go ahead.
My experience with budgeting for, I would say about 5 years, between 5 years of my experience in residence life, I was directly responsible for a $15 million budget where we had to make projections based on occupancy. So with that, I think budgeting is a complex experience. You know, there's macro things that you have to look at, and there's the micro things. There's the many things. Some of it relate to program and services that needs to function. But I think one of the things is that when you look at the budget and break it, I think you need a collection of people. When I was working with the budget at Buffalo State and Residence Life, you know, I worked with the chief financial officer, and I broke down my projections based on the number of beds we had there, and we also have to look at how the budget will change from year to year to year. So I think you will need a collection of experts that can focus on some of those things where you have individuals that, oh, I love numbers, and someone that said, I don't like numbers, but I understand this perspective of it. So my experience has been working with a budget that was very complex, where we, you know, during my time there, I would say our stack building, which was built in 2011, the planning that goes into capital projects. I see a structure being built outside this building. I come in, I'm like, I wonder who's the contractor of that. So looking at everything in terms of a micro, macro level, I've had some of those experiences. And as a board member, I'm not going to say I can manage the entire budget, but I think we need a collection of people to really look at it together. So a team approach.
Mr. Miller?
I've had quite a bit of experience doing budgets for small nonprofits in various churches throughout my years. I wanted to go back to something that Mr. Rich said, which is a budget is a statement of our values. And what is in there is just as important as what isn't in there or what we can't fund. And the interesting thing about that is we talk about using old budgets as a guide to budget into the future. And it's really hard to move things into the budget or out of the budget once they're in. And so the values that are reflected in the budget sometimes are things that are left over from the past that we just can't get rid of. So I think there's a danger to doing that. And I think it's something that, as Mr. Heflin said, as you collaborate and work on a budget together, you start to get a better idea of what the values are of the group and the constituents that you represent. And it gives you an opportunity to kind of review what has come to be a carried over value that really isn't important anymore and needs to be readdressed.
Okay, Dr. Edmund.
So, what does a theoretical physicist know about finances? But it just so happens that I've had to write over the last 4 or 5 years at least a couple of dozen grants for NSF and the Department of Energy, and the amount of work that goes into this is staggering. So the budget, it's just not the budget, but it's a budget justification, which really does take up a lot. Its granularity, it's going to tremendous granular details, not only just in terms of faculty pay and compensation, but students, graduate students, undergraduate, graduate students, equipment, et cetera, travel. What is more important, though, is that after every year, you have to provide intense justification of what happened in the preceding years, if you have any changes, et cetera. With also this, upon traveling to Maryland and being on the other side of things and being a reviewer, I've seen actually proposals, multi-million-dollar proposals getting rejected and sent back to PIs because there was no correlation one-to-one between the budget and the budget justification. Since I have a few seconds, I'll just want to just reiterate a couple, what I was saying before. When you're talking about funding, be it SUNY level, which is the $5 billion, for example, that the Chancellor and Board of Trustees declared today, or NSF or DOE, I'm not talking about university funding. I'm talking about K through 12. There are pockets of money and folks who are going after them and getting them. So there are attractive ways to move forward. Again, evidence-based research, getting data, and moving forward together with these funding, obviously being very mindful of budget and budget justifications to answer the question. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Biscaglia.
So my experience in crafting budget and fiscal oversight, I've been obviously 3 years on the Board of Education here in Williamsville, with one of those years being on the audit committee. And in terms of a school budget, it is slightly different than a private sector budget. And the first thing we have to do is lean on our great administrator, Tom Matursky, and in those audit committees and in executive sessions, asking tough questions, which sometimes the community does not see. In terms of personal budgeting, I've also been on the executive board and still currently am at my current job at school district, which has great insight to understanding coding, where money's supposed to go in terms of those codes in a school district. Also, I was one of the lead negotiators 2 times in our negotiations with our teachers and the district administrators at that school district that I currently teach at. And that has great insight into terms of how to budget, where money can go, where there has to be a give and take with the teachers and the district. And that, it touches base what we just talked about with support staff as well and their collective bargaining agreements. I have great insight into that and understanding where money should go and support the initiatives and divisions of where the best or where money should best be spent. This may be a little funny to some people, but I'm a team manager for my son's flash soccer team, which is interesting because you have to take 15 family, that and are friends with, their personal money and actually budget it. What hotels are best for us? We're all working families. Where the money is going to be spent. What we have to hold back money for mileages for the coach and so on. So I have experience in that budget. In terms of obviously not a $40 million budget, but still an important budget because it's families that are close to me. Ultimately, that's the oversight and expertise that I have in crafting budgets.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. And it is getting late, but we're going to plug along here. We will not have any more questions, but each candidate will have 3 minutes for their closing statement. So again, it is getting late. We'll make those 3 minutes go by fast, but we're going to start at the other end with Mr. Miller for closing statements.
Well, as a parent of the 4th grader, I saw the paralysis that COVID had on my own son's kind of mental health and his emotional health as well. We struggle daily as teachers in our own house to try and figure out how to address that socio-emotional health, how to address the learning that we weren't able to provide. And it became really clear that the school district was an important partner in our education. And one that needed our support more than I think we gave it. And one of the comments that my son had when he returned to school was how great it was to just be able to talk feelings with other people at school who weren't his parents. And I thought that said something as we've been talking about mental health all night and the emphasis that we need to put on that going forward. Something that we hadn't thought about in the past before COVID and ways that we can address that into the future, whether it's through funding support staff in new ways, addressing that shortage that may be coming or is currently there, addressing our DEI plan and any other initiatives that the district has in play that we may not have heard about due to some of the comments about communication and transparency that may be not quite up to par. I'm also acutely aware of social media and the impact that has on our kids and their mental health as well. And this needs to be a partnership, not just with our schools doing the work, but between the schools and the parents. And I think that's what I want to leave everyone with is we aren't electing board members to make all these decisions. This is a partnership. So when you elect people, whether it's me, 14A, for the ballot or someone else, you're electing someone to partner with the schools, with the teachers, with the support staff, and with the students and with the parents to provide what we think is best for our kids going forward. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Hubbard.
Awesome. Again, I'd like to thank you all that's still sitting in this room. It has been a long night for those of you who were here for the budget meeting as well. But I'll start my closing by saying people, processes, and a product. We should invest in people. Products, services can be managed, but the investment in our children is the outcome of the future. Wanting to sit on this board and being a part of the board, I believe it's going to be very challenging because there are excellent members that's sitting on this board, and I am grateful to be able to sit in this room with them. I think you have a difficult choice. I'm one that believe that we have to continue to, as we talked about DEI in this space, it seems to be overarching, and not just the sense of blacks and browns, not the sense of special education. When we look at inclusivity, I think we have to look at the whole picture and look at it from a perspective of Williamsville is changing. You know, I would have loved to say that I was in this district 10 years ago or even 30 years ago. I was educated in the Buffalo public school system, where I was the only member of my family to graduate from high school. Yes, I went on to get a master's degree and in the process of completing a PhD. But I think the emphasis that we need to put on education is really centered around opportunity, centered around what's going to happen, not now, but 10 years from now. So I say to you, as you make this very important decision, I would say not think of yourself, but think of the children that's going to be behind, not just your children, but other children that's going to come into this district. I think oftentimes when we are arguing or debating particular points about the specific things, I think we still keep in mind of the student's experience, creating a sense of belonging, creating values that centered around family, creating opportunities for our students to understand what change looked like in their world is what we should be looking at. And I think if you find the board members here that you believe that can create that opportunity, I think we'll be in a position to move Williamsville school system forward. Thank you. Thank you.
Go ahead.
So to conclude for tonight, it's been a long night, and I'll try to keep it short to get through everybody. But I'm here. I want to help advocate in collaboration with the board. I think that there has been great work done so far, but I think that there's still a lot that's left needed to be done. And I think that an equitable school district isn't equitable until everybody in the community understands what equity means. And part of the board's role is to help navigate those conversations. And they're not easy conversations, and they are going to happen a lot, and they're going to be very tiring. And I think that one of the most important things when the community is keeping this in mind for Election Day is to just make sure that you feel confident in the voice and the activity that the member is going to play on the board. And I think that I'm honored to be sitting among a bunch of great candidates here. I'm the youngest and least experienced, but I think that there's pretty much anyone here would be great and would really advocate for the best interests of our students. So just vote on May 16th, and thank you.
Go ahead, Dr. McClary.
I do think that you in the audience and the people listening and in the next few days, as you interact with each other, you will have a very difficult decision in terms of people that you feel are the best choices to serve you going forward. We certainly have had some excellent conversations and comments from the people who are running for the board. And I would just like to say, I hope that for myself, you would remember the contributions that I have made over the last 6 years of being a member of this board. I have the knowledge, the experience, and the time to continue forward and bring out as much of the positives and the potentials that we can have in our district. I'm very proud to be part of the Williamsville community and have been for over 20 years. And I do thank you for the support that you've given to us as a board in the past. And I hope to continue to be part of that into the future. Thank you.
Jump right in.
Well, I prefer to be unscripted. However, a script keeps me to 3 minutes and gets you home. So I will follow my script. So it's the end of the year on college campuses right now. And in K through 12, we are in the sprint to the finish. As a parent, I'm feverishly adding events, celebrations, exams, meetings to my calendar for my children. I'm working to remember which items to drop off on which days, how I can move my schedule so I can volunteer for a fun run or make a CSE meeting work, and which exams are on what days so that my children and I can go through that stress together. As an administrator on a college campus, I'm responding to reports about students who are struggling. I'm coaching students on how we get to the finish line or to the next steps. And I'm celebrating with my graduates because they have worked so hard to get where they are. And as a community member, I'm talking to parents about how the year is going for them and for their children. I'm communicating frequently with my children's teachers and schools to ensure that they have what they need to educate my children. And I'm looking for connections, solutions, and points of celebration within our Williamsville community. As a candidate, I can promise you this. I can promise you that I'll be new, but I will also be driven and passionate. I will do my research, and I am not afraid to ask questions or challenge processes when needed. I'm a seasoned educational administrator with relationships throughout Williamsville and Western New York. Our school district is not perfect, like all large systems. In fact, I would challenge people who assume perfection is the goal. The goal is to continue to improve year after year, to be better, to ensure access and continuity, and to evolve as a community, to prepare our children for their next steps in the world. To do this, I will use my personal and professional experiences to focus on communication, as we've talked about a lot tonight, through transparency, education, and the elevation of all voices. I'll be guided by inclusion and will work daily, as I do professionally, to ensure that I can represent all members of the community and that we as a district are serving all members of this community. And I will continue to celebrate the excellence that I see in our community members and our parent volunteers and all of you sitting in this room. I'm so appreciative of time that you gave us tonight. As a parent who manages her time very closely, I know what people sacrifice to sit in this space, and I respect it. I'm thrilled to be sitting here with such talented colleagues. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I just want to say first that I'm honored to be sitting at this table, to be part of this community, to be part of this district. I've been a parent in this district since my children were in elementary school. And I have to say that part of my position right now in advancement and development is building relationships with people. I take it very seriously, and I firmly believe that the relationships we build, that's what's going to move us forward in this district. I believe that we, as a community, we need to put our trust in the teachers that we have put in those seats. I had the opportunity to have a conversation with Dr. Brown Hall, and that was the first thing that I said when I sat down is, I would love for our parents and our teachers to work together for the betterment of our students. No matter, however that student identifies, we need to be there for every single one of our students. That has been my focus, is building the relationships, creating an equitable and quality education for our students, regardless of their race, religion, gender identity, if they have special needs, their learning styles, all of it. We need to make sure that we show up for all of it. Thank you.
Next.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone who is in our audience tonight, who's watching at home, to our district, PTSA Council, and our League of Women Voters for providing this opportunity to meet the candidates tonight. I hope that my responses helped you gain a better understanding of who I am, my priorities for our district, and why I would continue to be a successful school board member. I am a passionate advocate for public education and equitable educational opportunities. And by this, I mean providing every student with what they need to succeed and thrive. So for all students across all identities in our diverse district, whether they're in general ed or they're in special education, if they're an English language learner or a native English speaker, whether they're excelling in school or they need support to succeed, we want to provide every student with what they need. Additionally, with my professional mental health background, I bring that expertise and skill set to our board, and I will continue to prioritize enhancing wellness supports in our schools. I believe that board members serve to represent our school community. This requires meaningful input and collaboration with all interested community members. And fortunately, we have committee structures in place where students, parents, teachers, staff, administrators, and board members can work together to help address identified challenges. Individually, I contribute to building an inclusive, welcoming environment through my involvement in many committees, PTSAs, in casual conversations in the community, listening and reflecting on public comments at our board meetings, engaging in dialogue at community forums, and conversations with staff events. It is truly heartening to have so many people up here interested in joining our school board. My hope is that the community will choose 4 strong pro-public education candidates to serve. I am proud of my board contributions and know that my experience, dedication, and service will continue to support our district in its mission to provide educational excellence that empowers all students to develop their unique potential and thrive as learners, citizens, and leaders in a diverse global community. If you agree, please cast a vote for me, Crystal Kasmarek-Bogner, 5A on your ballot. Thank you very much.
Rich?
Thank you. I've been advocating for a couple years in the district, and early on when I started advocating, I met a woman named Wendy. She'd been advocating in Buffalo for over a decade, I think close to 2 decades. And in one of our conversations, I asked her why it was so hard to keep parents involved. And she said it was because parents only advocate for what their child needs. They don't really advocate for other people's kids all that often. I really took that to heart. And although I don't have a child with special education needs, I've been able to connect people with specialists. I've learned a lot about the policies and procedures. Although my kids did not have issues with masking during the pandemic, I learned about speech and behavioral issues that were being created by the masking in young children, and I advocated there. Same thing with mental health. You know, mental health is something that I think almost all of our teenagers are going through right now, and advocating there has allowed me to connect with professionals across Western New York. Sitting on the Board of Education is the highest level of advocacy that a parent can do in this district. There are 14 people running for school board this year. I think that's fantastic. It shows that we value public education as a community. It shows that we understand that maybe things could be a little bit different in the future. Accepting the 3 incumbents, I've had the most involvement in the district over the last few years of anyone who's running for Board of Education this year. And I think that, you know, my work inside the district and outside the district has always been transparent, has always been very self-evident, and I've always been very communicative with anyone who wants to have a conversation. You know, the mission statement of the district, very first line is, in our commitment to educational excellence, we believe students are our highest priority. And for me, that is, you know, front and foremost in running for the school board. I think if you're running for school board, you should have an agenda. I think you should have a list of things that you want to accomplish. And so I kind of outlined what I want to accomplish on the board. I want to change policy so that the board and the district are more responsive to the needs of students and staff. I want to be aggressively transparent and be proactive when issues come to the board. I want to maintain the quality of our music and athletic programs, but do more to ensure that there's equitable access. A lot of people don't realize that transportation plays a huge factor into athletic involvement in the district. I want to find more opportunities for all children to be involved in extracurriculars, to build a more welcoming and inclusive environment to assist with mental health. I want to confront hot button issues in the district in a sincere and collaborative way that is inclusive as many viewpoints as possible. I want to, you know, enable the district to start tackling some of the bullying issues in the school, some of the drug use and other problems that are going on in the school district. This one's very important. I think it's come up a lot. Parents of special needs students should not have to become experts in special needs law. They should not have to become lawyers in order to get what they need. I think that we need to implement an advocacy program. Oh, thank you very much. So that, parents have immediate support when they first experience struggles in the district. Thank you.
Sorry. Go ahead. Ms.
Hopefully you guys are still up. I'll keep it brief. I picked this brochure up at the last meeting, and the mission and belief statements on the back. The first bullet point is students are our highest priority. So that's what I'm going to keep in mind if I get elected to the board. Any decision I make is going to be taking into account the students' best interests. I think we live in a great school district, and if elected, I would just try to make it better. My platform is special education. It's what I'm passionate about. It's what I want to improve in this school district. I may not have some of the experience that some of these other candidates have, but I can tell you that no one will work as hard as me. I will take it seriously. I will dot my I's. I will cross my T's, and, put my best foot forward and do what's best for the students, because at the end of the day, that's what's most important. Thank you.
I'd first like to thank the PTA Council and the League of Women Voters. I'd like to also thank the candidates tonight for taking time to answer these questions and have conversation with the community. I had something written, but I'm going to speak from the heart. I have gone through Williamsville since I was a kindergartner. My brother has. My sister has. My parents, a principal, a mother that was a principal, a father that was a teacher. Can you imagine those dinner conversations? I joined the board 3 years ago, or I ran for the board 3 years ago and were elected because I ran through the mud in this district myself, and my parents did as well. I'm a student that has an IEP. Well, I was a student that had an IEP. My parents had to advocate for me so that I got the desired outcome that I wanted to be successful. And that's what Williamsville showed me. I have teachers that I could thank to this day. I had a U.S. history teacher, also Mr. Horton, who, I won't forget. I'll never forget. That's why I ran for board. To say that I don't run for an agenda is true. Do I have an agenda? Yes. And I can tell you who my agenda is. It's the students, the family, and the teachers, the ones that are there every day on the ground, making sure that our kids end up like me. That's what Williamsville is. I lived through a cut as a teacher where budgets were really tough in 2007 and 8 during a recession. I was cut with my first child on the way. But my wife supported me. My family did. And it all goes back to the educational values that Williamsville gave us. I don't want to lose that. My kids are going through here. Okay, I have nieces and nephews that are still here. That's why I'm running, to make sure that our kids are supported the right way, that we have the right policies, procedures, dedicated board members, dedicated teachers, dedicated support staff to make sure that our kids succeed, because they are our future. It's tough. No district's perfect. I work in a district that has issues. This district has issues. No doubt. We can't hide behind that. But what we can do is say, we see them, we hear them, and we can fix them one thing at a time. Nothing gets fixed overnight. Nothing all just magically goes away. But what we can do is continue to make improvements, which I think we have over the last 3 years that I've been as a board member. We have made improvements in communication, which I strived to the first time I ran. There are other things we need to strive to make better. Special education department. Okay? We need to strive to see that our parents and our families and community members understand and are inclusive for all different types of backgrounds. But that's what I'm here for. So my time's up.
All right.
Mike Biscaglia, 2A.
All right. So thanks to everyone for being here. Still, with my final remarks. So the first is that obviously COVID exacerbated the challenges that were simmering under the surface: inequities in education, special needs, DEI, mental health. while it wasn't something we wanted, but it brought them forward. So with great challenges, again, comes great opportunities. First and foremost, with the post-COVID chaos, let's not add to it. As a lot of my colleagues have already said, keep meaningful, continuous dialogue and conversation with students, parents, all stakeholders. Students in particular, I had the occasion to speak to at least a couple dozen students. I think 1 hour with them. They are very aware of all the challenges that the district is facing. And they're also not only looking for solutions, but also how we do it. Also, I think it's imperative to be aware that the challenges that we're talking about here are not static, but they're dynamic in nature. To pilot projects, for example, individualized education programs for special needs children, and moving away from the one teacher, 20 to 30 student model and going into webs of support, you need funding. And I think I've talked about some of the opportunities, statewide, federal-wide. There are other districts across America who are taking advantage of it. I think we should too. The second piece of, and the last piece of my ending comments are that we need to be proactive and not reactive. Do you and I know the challenges that are going to be here in 2026 or 2029? While we could not possibly deflect the full blow, but we can try. Keep a pulse on federal directives, NSF's 10 big ideas, for example. We didn't even get a chance to talk about AI disruption, but there is a lot of chaos going on out there. Along with that disruption comes the idea of ethics. We didn't get a chance to talk about that as well. So my concluding comments, and I wanted to pitch this in the first place, was to set up a subcommittee. We can give it a cool name like Next Gen or Next Generation, but we need to look ahead 3 years, 5 years, 5 years, even 2 years ahead, and wrap our heads around what is to come, what is already here. The future was yesterday. So with these thoughts, I will leave you. Thank you for listening. My name is Saqib Ahmed, 1A. Thank you.
Thank you all. Kind of glad I don't have to vote in this decision here, because Williamsville is very lucky to have such wonderful candidates. And thank you all for your participation. And thank you for having the league come and help with this evening's candidate forum. And just to let you know, a video recording of this will be available on the district's website. And I just want to say, vote. Most important thing that we have in this country. So thank you all very much and have a safe night.